Back to the stream. Good to see you all. So we're going to be continuing work on the run overview screen today. I think it's almost done, but you know, what does done even mean? I'm not entirely happy with like the visual presentation of this, but I did rework this run overview screen a little bit. So this is just going to enable me to display all the information that I want to display a lot nicer. So we've got that, it shifts over, and then you've got all of your stuff here. You've got the inventory artifacts. It shows defeat or victory here, depending on what happened. But, you know, I want to add a bunch more information to this, and the old screen layout just wasn't going to support that. So, like, for example, I'm going to add the combat log in here as well, so you could see, like, what your final combat log looked like. And I'm also going to put the enemy board that you died to in here, if applicable. So anyway, I think that's just going to be easier to do with this. And then this is still feeling a little bit empty here. So I may just add some like particle effects or something here just to make this, just to fill in this space a little bit. But, or I could add like little constant wispies or something going around. But anyway, I think that, you know, I think that this is going to just be more conducive to showing more information. And of course, as I add information to this screen, if I want to add information to this screen, like what are your new unlocks or something, you know, I could just extend this, and it's a scroll container. So that's going to work pretty nicely. Anyway, so I've just got some stuff that I want to finish for this phase of developing this screen, and we'll go ahead and do that. But before I do that, I need to remind everyone that Alka Mortis is available for wishlisting. So check it out on Steam. The description is also up to date. So if you want to learn about what the game is about, you can read up on that. Appreciate all the wish lists that you guys have given so far. You can also support on Patreon. I am entirely self-funded, so all of your donations and whatnot help, but you do get a couple of nice perks for the Patreon stuff. So I've been uploading some exclusive content to Patreon, which you will get at the supporter tier and the sponsor tier. But if you subscribe at the sponsor tier for at least 1 month, I will send you an Alka Mortis Steam key when the game launches, so you won't have to buy it on Steam. And your name will also be included in the Alka Mortis credits. So, you know, you don't want to be the kind of person where when the game pops off and it sells 500 billion copies, like you could have your name in there. You could, but, you know, it's up to you if you want to miss that opportunity. And also, I have my Udemy courses available for sale. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So definitely check those all out. But of course, all of the free ways you could support me are very much appreciated as well. You can join the Discord, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow on Twitch, like the video. All that good stuff also helps out a ton, and I appreciate it. Anyway, let's say hello to everybody. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome. Good to see you. Snupbill, thank you for the IDR 10,000 again. That's always appreciated. Very generous. Thank you, Snupbill. With the Yummers. Welcome back. Always happy to see the Yummers in the morning. Hello, Kelso. Good to see you. Hello, Johan. Finally managed to catch a stream. Excellent. Welcome back. Good to see you. You have so much progress. Thank you. Yeah, I try. 20 stream streak from Kelso. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Hello, Simon William Taylor. Welcome. Welcome back, I should say. Okay, so what are the things that I was going to do? Bring the combat log over and show the enemy board that you died to. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. So the enemy board, these all need to be translated as well. Okay. So let's figure out how to bring the enemy board over. End run requested. Resurrection container. So combat configuration. So, emit end run requested. run save model. Okay. So I'm building out this run overview context. So this is a separate scene from the run. So what happens is the whole tree that represents the run gets freed and we transition into this run overview screen. And so there's this context object that contains all of the data that gets passed over to that new scene, and then that new scene reinitializes everything with that data. So I basically need to get the enemy board information into this run overview context. Let me think about this. End run requested. So I wonder if I should just do... I'm wondering if I should just do another context object and emit that along with the game events, emit signal run requested, end run requested. All right, this is just going to be a mess, but I want to get this working. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do public record end run context. And we're going to do public bool is victory. Get init. And we'll do required. And then we're going to do public. I'm going to need to add multiple layers of handling this. So we're going to need to emit a custom signal here. Because I ultimately want to, in the run manager, let's see, resurrection container, resurrection finished. Yeah, so I'm going to need to add a whole chain of signals here, but that's all right. So on event resurrection finished. What I'm going to do in here is I'll do private void on event resurrection end run requested. And then what I'm going to do is I need to get the combat configuration. Is this going to work for the boss? Oh boy. I've got a lot of conditionality here. I wonder... Oh, gosh. Private combat configuration. Get combat configuration for current node. If is in boss fight, get boss configuration for region. Is elite fight queued. Okay. Get combat configuration for node. Okay. All right. So that's good. And then anywhere where I'm using this, let's see. Get patrol flag configuration. So we'll grab this. We can just flatten this down to, oh my gosh. get combat configuration for current node. Okay. And then, was that right? Yeah. Okay, so get combat configuration for current node. Same deal here. Okay, so that gives me a combat configuration. And this combat configuration has board configuration model. Actually, is that what I want to do? I'm gonna have to make a bunch of changes. Oh my gosh. I think what I want is board configuration model defeated by combat configuration. Board configuration. Okay, let's just finish doing this first. Emit end run requested. We're going to change this to end run context. Actually, this should probably be, this needs to be a public partial class that extends ref counted. So one of the kind of annoying things about Godot is that you cannot send objects along as signal arguments unless that object is a variant or something that can be determined to be a variant, so like an integer or a string or whatever, or unless it extends some kind of Godot object. So in this case, I use ref counted, which extends Godot object, but the ref counted will also allow this to be cleaned up when it's no longer referenced. If I just extended Godot object, that would never be explicitly freed, I don't believe. So anyway, so that ultimately needs to inherit Godot object in order to pass that along as a signal argument. So that's why I need to do that. And then emit signal end run requested would go up here. This becomes end run context there. And that should work there. Okay. Goodness gracious. Resurrection container. So this is going to need to change. Connect to end run requested, on end run requested, transition to run overview. We're going to make this game events.end run context. This is going to be game events end run context. We pass that along. Okay. Anyway, when you're doing content, how do you do your version control for a feature that's sort of obvious, right? Because you just branch for the feature, but for content, there isn't really always a clear goal, right? You might start in one place and end somewhere else. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the complexity of the content. So for example, if I'm just adding a new item to the game, the only thing that I really care about is making sure that the code compiles. So the way that I make commits is that every commit in the history should be a version of the game that will run, that will compile and that will run. Now that doesn't mean that it's bug free, and it doesn't mean that there's not incomplete content. It just means that I should be able to go to any commit in the history, and if I click the play button, the game should start up, right? So that's really the only like major restriction that I have in terms of when I make my commits. But when I'm doing like a new item, like I might do an initial commit that's like initial work on this item, and it won't have any of the correct configurations. It may not even have the art, and it might not have the abilities, but it's got all of the supporting work set up. It's got like the custom resource. It's got everything that requires it to work, to function in the system as part of that commit. And then I can just go ahead and in like follow-up commits, I'll just, add the abilities, add the flavor text. So sometimes an item is done over, 2 or 3 commits. And the same is true with artifacts, right? So So I don't worry about like, because creating branches for that kind of stuff is like too much overhead for just adding a new item or new artifact to the game, especially since I know like what the pattern is already, and it's okay if like there's a commit in the history where like an artifact is partially implemented and doesn't work or doesn't do anything. As long as the game compiles and runs, I don't care, right? But for things that are like new screens or like this run overview, I'm doing this on a separate branch right now. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm actually on a different branch for this because I'm doing a pretty big overhaul of how this is laid out. And so this is a situation where I want to get this entire like rework done with all the new features I want to support before I merge it back into the master branch. So that's how I do it. It's largely just a judgment call. If I know something is going to be a bigger effort and potentially very destructive, I will do it on a separate feature branch. But otherwise, if it's just straightforward, like I know what I'm doing, or like this is just like I've got a task in my board that's very like narrowly defined and like it requires just like 2 or 3 code changes, that just goes straight to master. So I'm a software developer after 10 years. I like to ask this as well. The way I've been doing it so far is just say screw it, create a random branch, go until I'm out of ideas, and then open the PR. Like that works. How do you find your to-dos in the source code? Is there tooling for that in VS Code? Because every time I use it, forget about it. Yeah, there's a to-do tree extension. It's called to-do tree. And that basically just provides a tree layout of all of the to-dos across your entire code base. And so, yeah, this is just like a nice way of keeping track of them. I do think that like if you have a to-do that's really important, it should probably be tracked in like your whatever tracking software you're using. But a lot of times like my to-do comments are just like, well, this is not exactly like good, but it's okay, I can address it later. And then I do a lot of these like temporary to-dos, which are just like, these are actually not intended to be committed. This is just so when I'm reviewing the code, I will go here and be like, oh wait, I forgot to do this thing, right? To this day, I write to-dos and print statements. You forget about them, yeah. I wonder if there's a way to show... There might be a way to show like a badge counter on this to like give you like, you see how there's like a 4 here on the Git? I wonder if there's a way to show that on the to-dos so you can see like how many outstanding to-dos you have. But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's right. Courier Games. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. Anyway. Signal, public, delegate, void, and run requested event handler. So we're going to get rid of this to do now. And we're going to do emit signal and run requested there. So then in my run manager, actually I need to go to my resurrection event state machine, and then here resurrection container dot end run requested plus equals on end run requested. Just forward these signals around. On end run requested. What are you doing? AI, what are you doing? Public delegate void end run requested. Emit signal end run requested. Okay, so in my run manager here, when I do the resurrection, oh my gosh, these animals are being annoying today. What else is new? Do you want to sit with me? Do you want to sit with me? Blah! What's up? Anyway. State combat victory. Where is my resurrection event state machine? Here it is. State player died. Resurrection event state machine dot end run requested plus equals on event resurrection end run requested. So this is where I'm going to do the game events dot emit end run requested with new game events end run context. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Var combat configuration is equal to get combat configuration for current node. And then this is actually not correct because what I need to do is, so this generate, when does this get called? Oh, it is storing the board configuration model already. Oh, very nice. Okay, so I actually don't need to do that. So here, what I will do is I will say defeated by board configuration is equal to combat configuration question mark board configuration model, because we may be ending the run. Well, I don't think that's technically possible, but we might as well be safe. So if this is null, we won't include this, or it'll just be null. But there's the board configuration model, so that's the enemy that we died to. Is that it? Oh, so then this run overview context, I'm going to need to do public board configuration model defeated by board configuration. Okay. And then the run end manager, we're just going to pass that along. So defeated by board configuration is equal to that. Okay, so if I did everything correctly, let's just make sure this builds. What is going on? Okay. Is victory is equal to end run context is victory. We'll just put that in there. Merge and save end run data. Okay. Now build that. So I should have all the information that I need now. And so now we can actually add that to this screen here. So set up tracking of died to board model. Okay. Hello, the Mr. TKA. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Good morning, Malicious Rabbit. Welcome back. Uncle Bob recommends to not commit to-dos, so you'll always see and get... recommends to not commit to-dos, so you'll always see and get what you have to do. Yeah, I mean, I think, you can make an argument both ways. I think for a more casual project, like for me, to-dos are more like I said, they're more like markers of things that I would like to improve at some point, but don't quite deserve a card here, because it's one of those things where it's not important, so I don't want to clutter this with like unimportant tasks, right? But it is one of those things where if I see it while I'm working on something else, I may say, oh, I can actually just address this to-do right now, right? So I'm not using it as like something that actually needs to be done. I'm using it more as like a marker of like, you could fix this up if you ever found the excuse or the time to do it. But you probably shouldn't be committing like critical to-dos to your version control. There's one ugly cat and expensive looking too. Well, we can agree to disagree on the first point, but not the second one. He's charming. Yeah, he's got good eyes. He does. Hello, Junie. Welcome. I screenshotted the cat as hard as I could do. I got jump scared by your cat. look like Larry for a few frames. I have to-dos in one of my main work projects from 10 years ago. Don't tell my boss. Okay, it'll be our secret. I only ever do a to-do if it's a technical optimization thing that IDK the answer to at the time. Yeah, I think that's fine personally. Okay, Kat, are you gonna let me work? You're gonna let me work? So let's, oh, here he comes. Okay, all right. Okay. So combat board. I need to organize this as well. Here's a combat board. So basically these three things. I need to organize this very badly, but that's all right. Okay. All right. So we've got that going on. We can mark that as a unique name. So we're going to need the died by board container and died by board. Okay. Private board node private. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to do. There's one other thing I wanted to do, which was to make sure that these VBox or vertical separation is the same. So this one is 2. Whoops. Uh-oh. I somehow accidentally deleted that whole thing. I think we're good. All right, anyway, so set up boards. Let's just pass in, let's change this. Run overview context. Defeated by board container. Died by board container dot visible is equal to context dot defeated by board configuration is not equal to null. So this is just going to be easy. Died by board dot load or board inventory component load board configuration. Defeated by board configuration. We can get rid of all this stuff here. And then add drag locks for board, died by board. Okay, and we can just pass in the context here. Oh, I also realized I'm not showing the final health. Okay. Well, let's see if it works. To make this more efficient? The cat is back, yeah. Would you mind if I put a shout out to Alchemortis in my game? Sort of like a Terraria Minecraft Easter egg. I've already done this with a few other games. No, I don't mind. Go ahead. Feel free. That would be cool. You need a way to insert a to-do inside a tree to organize it later. Yeah. I've set a rain particle effect using particle 2D GPU. When I switched to a new laptop, the effect was jittery, like a ghost effect was on every raindrop. Still haven't figured out a solution. I mean, it could be your display. It could just be your display ghosting. I don't need to do this. Let's just die. Oh, that did not work at all. Oh, I forgot to register the board. This is also not going to work. I think I saw a different error there that's not going to... Yeah, attempted to add destroyed item training dummy to the tree. This may indicate a bug in lifecycle management. So, do I need to... Let me think. I can just duplicate it. All right, well, we could do that. So, run manager... Duplicate. Man, I thought of everything. Good morning, Ninja Link. Welcome back. Is your laptop a CRT? A CRT laptop. That's hilarious. All right, let's see if it worked. So my combat board died to boom. Look at that. Okay, so that seems to be working. We could give it a real try just to make sure everything's working properly. Hello, Tan Talking. Welcome. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Hello, El Gerado. Welcome back. All good around here? I am well. How are you doing? I want to play as the trading dummy. I think there is an opportunity to do like fun different game modes in Alchemortis. So for example, I think it would be fun to swap the enemy and player factions. So maybe it could just be like a special mode that gets unlocked when you've like beat a majority of the game, where you start to play as the enemy faction against the player items. I think that would be kind of cool. Should be doable. The only problem is I would need to come up with enemy characters, because then you'd be like playing a necromancer with enemy cards. It's kind of weird, but... So we have... Well, we'll just see if this works. Died to, boom, look at that. So now we've got a record of the board that you died to. So now the last thing to do is to... Well, not the last thing, but... we want to put the combat log in here as well. But I think that's working, so... Show died to board in run overview. So now let's figure out how to get the combat log over. the combat log label. How do I want to get this information over? Well, one other thing I want to try too is I want to make sure that it works if I abandon the run and I'm not in a combat encounter currently. Let's see if that works. Abandon run. Yeah, there's no died to board now. Okay, cool. Very cool. Everything going well. Got the first part-time-ish gig in a rather small studio. Very excited. Oh, awesome. Congratulations. Also quite difference of run overview menu from the last time I was here. Looking very good. Something akin to Megabonk, but hopefully more readable. Yeah, I'm trying to... The problem is there's just so much information that I want to show the player when the run ends, and I'm sure the player would be interested in seeing, so... Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure that this will be tweaked between now and release, but just trying to get it feeling relatively good, that's all. Okay. So yeah, the problem with the combat log is I need to figure out what in the world... let me think. I need to redo this combat log. This is going to be probably one of the next major areas of focus, is figuring out how to do a very nice combat log. And it also needs to be translated, which is going to be a little bit tricky. Anyway, I don't know. I do not know. We're getting very close to the game being done, though. I mean, I think my target is for the game to be released near the end of the year. And apart from the combat log, I don't think there's any major features left. So once the combat log is overhauled, it's just going to be a matter of polishing the heck out of the game, adding a bunch of content. So yeah, I think it's definitely doable to get the game out by the end of the year with the amount of items and artifacts and everything that I want, with all the unlocks configured. So we're getting close. The end is in sight. And then we'll see how it goes. Anyway, how do I get the combat log? So I don't even know what is the proper way of doing this. Part of me is wondering if I should even do this right now, if I should do the combat log overhaul first. So what I'm thinking is I could just take the text out of the rich text label and just bring it on over. I mean, I could just make this like a singleton, kind of, and just pull the text out of it. I could do something weird too, which I don't know. I don't really know if I want to do this, but... I could insert another signal in here. Instance.emit request and run context modification. That would change the end run context, and then it would just emit that there. That's kind of weird. I've never really done that kind of a pattern before. So I don't even know if that's even a good idea, but we're going to do it anyway. Hello? Well, whatever. Anyway, we're going to go in the combat log here. And game events.instance.connect to end run to request end run context modification. This is a little bit hacky, but again, when the combat log gets changed, I think it'll be fine. So this end run context here, we're going to do public string combat log text get set. That may not be the best way to do it, but that's all right. Why is this still not working? Oh, emit signal. There we go. And so this will just kind of like hook into that. It will update that property. And then when we go into the run overview, we can just slap that in there. So let's copy this combat log label here. Let's just duplicate this. Let's delete this one, paste that there. Of course, I can't see anything. Can actually do this will actually need to be a scroll container. Okay, I think I'm almost there. Okay. All right, well, we'll see how that works. So with the combat log label and combat log container. Okay, so we'll just set this up in here. if context dot, oh, I need to run overview context, public string combat log text. Combat log text is equal to end run context dot combat log text. Alrighty. Combat log text. Let's do if not string dot is null or empty. Okay. Let's see what that does. October Next Fest hype? Maybe. I recall people mentioning that it would be nice if the game told you what unlocked more clearly. Right now, unlocks just happen. You don't really know how they happen unless you're looking for the little fire symbol. Have you thought about how you want to address that? Yeah, so I think in the run overview screen, what will happen is you go here, it will do this, and then it will, before it slides out this overview, it will do a nice like little dialogue of like, here's everything you unlocked, right? And then like it'll show you all the stuff, and then when you dismiss that dialogue, then it will show this. Or the unlocks could be shown in here, maybe even at the top. So like new unlocks, bang, 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 you know what I mean? So I think I could show it here for sure. I definitely think that's doable. All right, so anyway, let's go to training dummy. Try this out. Hello, Wooius, welcome back. Good to see you. All right, so we'll hop in here. Let's just die right quick. We'll go here. So here's the combat log. Training dummy dealt 100 damage. Died to. This is the combat log. It didn't work. So the first thing is this needs to be combat log. Why is this not working? Put a breakpoint there. Oh. Okay. Maybe there's a different method for getting the text. It is not representative of manual modifications to the internal tag stack. Okay. How do I get... How do I get the text then? Returns the text without the BBCode markup. That doesn't help. So is there no way to get the final BB code out of this? Is that what's happening? Well, shucks. What am I going to do here? I can't get the BB text. Is there a way to get the... Google says BBCode text. I don't think that's right. I think I tried that. There is no BBCode text. Okay. Well... I mean, I could just maintain my own parallel text string. Do I want to do that? Let's see if that works. Okay, that seems to work, so that's kind of unfortunate, but I guess that's all right. I'm going to be redoing the combat log anyway, so cool. All right, so that's done. So we need to show the final health, final blood, and show final resurrection stones. Okay. All right, so we're going to do that. I think that should be relatively straightforward, but we will see. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we will add that information to the little screen there, the run overview screen. So I'll be right back in 3 minutes, and we'll do that. Okay, it's me, I'm back. Okay. Welcome to the stream, Jack, by the way. I don't think you popped in yet this morning. Welcome, welcome. Okay, all right. So now this is getting a little bit unwieldy, but that's all right. So artifacts, I'm thinking putting the final health and whatnot stats down here. Right. So okay. I should rename this stuff. Okay, this is going to be inventory container, inventory split. It's not really a split container, but that's all right. Inventory container. Call this one inventory label. This can just be panel. Okay, this is the artifact container. That's fine. Okay. So what we want in here actually is we want another HBox or VBox container. This would be okay. Layout, expand. Okay, so we've got the artifacts there. And then what we could do is we can do another VBox container in here. This would be the, I don't know, health container, something like that. Let's add a label here. Health and currency. Center this. Oops, center that. What is label settings? Is this something new? Oh, you could just change the label settings directly. Interesting. Stacked shadows? What? How did I never know about this before? What? Hold up a second. Oh, dope. Oh, that's actually super cool. I actually think, do I like that style better than this style? You could do stacked outlines as well. Interesting. Even just doing something like this. Interesting. Okay, hold on, I'm playing around with this now. So if I do orange text, I could do, well, that's not super readable, I suppose. But I could do like, if I ever wanted to change how this looks. Interesting. All right, anyway. Don't need to worry about that just now. I think I might like that better though, or something like that. Anyway, we don't need to play around with that right now. Just, I guess I completely forgot that label settings existed. It's pretty cool. The cat definitely committed a bunch of to-dos while you were gone. Oh, that's unfortunate. Good thing I have a Git history. When you let the player grow their board up, how are you handling the new cell placement? It would be a full row at y-1. So you just place all the new cells in the negative, or do you shift down? All the cells are always positive. So if I shift up, what essentially is happening is it's adding a row to the end. And then it shifts everything down, is essentially what's happening. So when you grow the board up, it appears as if it's adding a row above everything, but what's happening is it's just adding a row and then it shifts everything down in accordance with that growth. So it's actually moving the position of all the cards on the board in accordance with the grow direction. The same for the left direction. So top left is always 0, 0. And of course, moving the cards is just a matter of like, you just offset them by the direction opposite of which you want to grow, right? So if I want to grow to the left, I move everything over to the right. But then when I'm growing to the right, it doesn't need to shift to the left, right? It just adds a new row. So yeah, that's it. That's it. It's not anything fancy. It's literally just shifting everything over. The easy way is just to generate a new row in the negative y plane. It depends on what you mean by easy, right? Is it easy from a code standpoint to just add a row in the negative? Yes. But to me, what's easier is being able to reason about the board and to know that the top left of the board is always 0, 0. Even if that requires a little bit more work on the code to make that the case, it's easier to reason about a board which is always 0, 0 in the top left, right? Because otherwise you could end up with situations where like, well, this board is 0, 0 and this one is -3, -2, right? And then it's like when you're doing like logging and stuff and you're like trying to figure out like what the position of cards are, like why is this not being placed at the right position, and you log the position of the card in the board and it's like, oh, it says it's at 0, 0, but there's like 3 empty rows or 3 empty columns to the left of it. So it's like, you know, it adds confusion in my opinion. So even though it takes more work on the code side to enforce that top left is 0, 0, it's easier when you're trying to like reason about how the boards are working ultimately, right? Instead of trying to regenerate the board with every cell's position shifted down before you append a new row. So you're always placing new rows in the positive and then you're just shifting the items to make it seem like they're changing direction. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So if you're growing left, you're still adding a new row on the right side, but then shifting all the items to the right as well. Yes, yes. Am I still here? That's such a smart idea. I mean, it's, you know, it's not too complicated. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so we need to do, let's add HBox container. Let's do health container. Call this health and currency container. Health container here. What? Texture rect. Might want to redo this icon as well. So this will be like 0 out of 250 or something. Actually, do I need 0 out of 250? Because you're always going to die at 0 health. That's probably fine, actually. I'm thinking now I probably want another HBox container here. I'm just realizing now that this needs to have a panel container wrapping it. I almost wonder, should I just cause this to expand? Make everything look nice. Oops. That's already expanding. Expand. Oh, ow. No. Gross. That looks a little bit weird. Maybe it would be better to keep that one there and just make the artifacts one bigger, maybe? Okay, I don't think the player is going to get that many artifacts, but I guess it's possible. Okay. Some of this padding is way off as well. Okay, I'm just adjusting all the padding and spacing to be consistent here. That's all. Like, that's almost like the #1 thing you can do apart from like the visual presentation of the UI is like making sure that your padding and your margins are consistent everywhere. Is a great way to make something look a little bit more clean and professional. So I think that works. First time watcher here. I subbed because of your video on using composition. Awesome. Welcome, Emperor Penguin. Good to see you. Do you have a source about setting up your workspace and the configuration of all your tools? I don't know. I don't. Sorry. But you're free to ask any questions you might have, and I can try to answer them. Taking me like 2 months just to begin to get a sense for UI layout using controls. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. I mean, I think, you know, I come from like a web development background, so it's kind of similar, you know, like I think the main thing is just like thinking about it as a series of boxes that you're nesting inside and like figuring out how to get your nesting to work such that your boxes are expanding and filling the space as necessary. So yeah, UI, like when I first started using Godot, the UI system was definitely one of those things that took a while to get comfortable with. But it's just, you know, it's basically like you just put a bunch of boxes in place to get the layout that you want. And if your UI tree looks like this, then you're probably doing something right. Okay, so resurrection stone label, blood label, and health label. Why is this not, oh, is this like not correct? Wonder why that happens sometimes. Oh, I already have a setup labels. Oh, we'll change this to context here. Blood equals 420, resurrection stones equals 3, max health equals 103. Okay, let's see how that looks. Learning the control system is a task and a half, yeah. Yes, it is. There should be a way to declare UI layout in the script in a clean way. I mean, in a Godot tool. Yeah, that would be super useful. That would be super useful. Okay, we're getting there. So I think I might do like a visual pass on this and like actually create a nice, like the card inspector. I actually want to redo the card inspector art as well. But I think that's good. So we've got that information now. Is there any other information that I'm missing? Is there any other information I'm missing? Hello, Bomb That Implodes, welcome. Good to see you. Hello, Emerson, welcome back. I think, wait, were you already here, Emerson? I don't think so. Okay, all right, so I think, yeah, it's basically feeling all right. No, I'm late, gotcha. So yeah, apart from just increasing or adding some more visuals to this, we've got the run overview screen. And we could just try the full loop for good measure. Make sure everything's working. So I do want to transition into the boss, or to the end run screen after the boss fight. I should probably make sure that the combat log works as expected as well. Okay, so we can call that done then. Let me make sure, I want to make sure that that combat log scrolls correctly, so I'm just going to do this. Go to my training dummy, 5 damage. We'll run it again. Hello, Pascal. H, do you have a run time? What do you mean by run time? Like how long a run takes? Yes, I'm targeting, like, I want a run to take like an hour and probably 45 minutes for players that are very experienced. Like, I want it, so I was talking about this yesterday. I want the run to be long enough where you can actually like make some meaningful decisions and get your build working really well. But I don't want the run to overstay its welcome where like you get to that good build and then you're just like stomping everything for the next 10 minutes, right? Because the game gets boring when that happens. So I need to give the player enough time to like get that perfect build and like hit those synergies. And then ideally the run would end like shortly after that. And I think like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of like, because the main reason why this game takes that long is because you spend a lot of time thinking. You spend a lot of time like reading things and thinking and building, putting your build together. The actual process of like visiting the nodes and going through the combat doesn't take long at all. So yeah, targeting like an hour and then 45 minutes if you're experienced, maybe 30 minutes if you're experienced. So yeah, I hope that works out. The next playtest, I mean, you guys will be seeing a lot of changes in the next playtest, but I think one of the main changes for the next playtest is that the map is smaller now, and also a lot of the player damage types have been tweaked: fire, bleed, poison. So I'm still not happy with how fire is working though, so I may rework that again. But I actually just had an idea for fire. So poison does a consistent amount or consistent damage every fixed time interval, but I wonder if fire could be made to do where if you are increasing your fire stacks, it like burns faster. So it's still a damage over time, but you can get more DPS out of the fire by applying more stacks. I mean, that's also true of the poison, but again, the poison is like on a fixed interval. I wonder if like, yeah, making the fire accelerate in terms of how long it's going. And then I do like the idea of making fire like a permanent status. That would differentiate it from the poison, so it's this thing that you're just like constantly building up. Interesting. I'm gonna prototype that. make fire similar damage over time to poison, but it accelerates in both damage and tick time and remains permanent, but still is blocked by armor. I'm going to prototype that. I think that might be fun. I was too busy having a meeting that could have been an email. Oof. Which program do you use for the Kanban board? Is that integrated into VS Code or Obsidian? It's an Obsidian plugin called Kanban. You should be able to find it in the community plugin list. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with how this run overview screen is working now. So I'm going to actually merge that in. And then we got to figure out something else to do. Okay, what else should we do? I like that U-shaped card earlier. What is it? That is an altar, the altar of infusion, I think is what it's called. The altar of infusion. I need to figure out what to do about this wording, but basically whatever item is inside of the U will execute multiple times. So if I do add item candle and I do this and that, so you can see that this candle now, this item executes again one time. So now it will apply 2 fire every time it goes. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. And then this altar, when you upgrade it, it increases the amount of times that this executes. So this is one of those, and it doesn't have any empty ability slots by default. So this is one of those items where, like, if you wanted to like stack a 1x1 card or something, or it's not just 1x1 cards. You know, like the T-shaped cards would fit into here. Any card which is like one cell wide would fit in here as long as you had enough space going up. But yeah, apologies if this has been asked already. Do we have another playtest date yet? I have an internal date for a playtest, but I have not yet announced it. I might shadow drop it, to be honest. You might not know until it's actually live, at least for the Patreon members. I still want my barnacle so I can add a 1x1 square to whatever I want. Yeah. I mean, I could do like a reagent, like a barnacle reagent or something, and then have that reagent just like absorb, but also destroy the item that it absorbs. So you could take like a skeleton dragon, put it on a barnacle, and then like you have this super massive, powerful 1x1 barnacle. Or maybe it should be a barnacle. Maybe it should be something like a, you know, like a Skyrim soul gem or something. And then make it like really rare. I could introduce the idea of having like legendary reagents, which will just be marked as legendary, but are like super rare. That would be cool. Let me add that down. Let me add that, write that down. So let's do item, or I have reagents. I need to clean this all up here. Reagent, okay. 1x1 legendary reagent, which absorbs all abilities of an item and destroys that item. but becomes immutable. So I'm thinking it's like this really rare legendary reagent, which will just literally take everything off of an item and put it onto itself. But then like it becomes immutable, like it can't be changed after that. So that's kind of like reintroducing the old way that legendary items worked. But it could have like a passive innate, like this item is not alchemizable or upgradable or whatever. And so it'd be like one of those things where it's like, you've got your perfect larger item already like alchemized and you get this legendary, you go, okay, now I'm gonna take that and put it there into this legendary barnacle or whatever it is, but then you can't change it beyond that point. So it's like locking in this power. That would be pretty cool actually. I think it's doable. Where and how do I learn to build Godot games? New to the stream, by the way, thanks. The documentation, you've got instructors like myself, GD Quest. My courses are not for beginners, so I wouldn't recommend my courses if you're an absolute beginner, but yeah, I mean, just like, I think just get the basics down. You know, there's all kinds of tutorials on YouTube of like how to get around the Godot engine, how to build simple projects. And then I'm a big fan of like trial by fire. So once you know enough to like get around the engine and generally understand like how things work, then just try to build something on your own. And then, you know, look up like documentation and tutorials as necessary if you get stuck, but like try to work through the problems yourself. Try to figure things out yourself, and don't worry about like, am I doing this right? I don't know if this is the way to do it. Just be like really scrappy about it and just like build a scene the way that you think it should be built, or build it in the way that you know how to build it to get the functionality that you want. And that's where you will learn the fastest, I think, is because you'll build something one way and then you'll be able to observe in practice the strengths and the weaknesses of building it that way. Or you'll notice when something is a little bit finicky. And so you'll think in your mind, like, how can I improve this? How can I make this a little bit easier to work with? And that's kind of like, you know, that's how I developed like the way that I work with the Godot engine is just like trial and error. I kind of know what works and what doesn't. I know ahead of time, like what things need to be scenes, or like how to structure my scenes to get them to work the way that I want them to work. But all that comes through experience. So that's the way that I would recommend doing it. Is this turning into a SpongeBob game? If possible, there should be more like this altar for every orientation. Would be fun to arrange those U shapes around a card in the center. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I want a starfish. Starfish is a good idea, actually. Here, while we're here, let's just come up with a bunch of other deep sea creatures. Do I have a kraken in here? No. What else? What other kind of deep sea creatures do we have? Shark? I have Leviathan in here. I really, really, really want to make this Leviathan at some point. This is going to be probably another 3x3 card. I mean, it has to be, right? Because it's Leviathan. But it's just going to be like this grotesque, like massive sea monster that's like the same size as the skeleton dragon. And I think that would be really, really cool. Eel. I'm seeing eel. Add my mother-in-law. A squirrel. Probably complicated to do in code. 45 minutes seems perfect. I guess you could add a timer you can toggle for people who like to do speedruns. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, I could do that. 100% agreed. That's my excuse for why I'm stuck at 15% in your C# tutorial. I went and started building my own game. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Do the Kraken 2-part idea. Do you have a cute seahorse? I don't have a seahorse, but we could do that. Angular fish. I probably won't do all of these. I don't want to like make the game like 20% deep sea creatures, but capybara. A tolling bell that summons the Kraken after a while. Oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. Where's the Kraken? Here. Not related, but it's cool. Sea cucumber. This is the Kanban community plugin for Obsidian. Anyway, let's see. We're at 1:40 into the stream. I also have a character that I want to do, which is the Lich. I have a design in mind for the Lich character. You're just gonna be like, if you know, like the Dragon Priests in Skyrim, it's gonna be kind of like that. I don't know what the Lich's abilities are gonna be though. I may make the Lich focused on like building a skeleton army. I think that would be kind of cool. Like I'm thinking of having an artifact that like just gives you a skeleton warrior after every combat, and then have another artifact that like specifically buffs undeads, and just have the Lich like this character that's just constantly generating skeletons, and like you've got all these undead buffs and whatnot. I think that'd be really cool. Leviathan. Yeah, I do have Leviathan there. Kevin, the sea cucumber Easter egg that is summoned if you spell out loser with your items. The more you die and use res gems, the stronger you get. Oh, that's a good idea too. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, once we get fully into just like the content phase, there's all kinds of cool stuff that I want to add. But we'll see how the next playtest goes, see how the game systems are feeling. I'm going to delete this one. I don't want to do this one anymore. So I do need to transition to the run overview on boss defeat. And I'm actually going to get rid of this one. Transition to run overview on boss defeat. So that is something that I want. So now that I'm carrying over the combat log into the run overview screen, I think it will be okay to and actually, it'll be okay to just go straight into the run overview. And actually what I want to do is show final boss board in run overview on victory. So I'm just trying to think of like, you know, all the people, all of you who shared like your victories in the Discord, like what are the elements that are required there? So like you guys were showing your combat logs, you were showing your builds, and so, yeah, I think as long as all that information is in the run overview screen, you'll be able to like share your final build as well as like what the boss board looked like when you beat it. And you'll also have the combat log in the run overview screen as well. So I think it should be fine to transition to that victory screen right when you defeat the boss, because you're not going to be losing any information. And actually the information is going to be presented in a much more like linear way in that side panel. So I think that should be fine. Another cool character would be a Dark Paladin. Yeah. Dark Paladin. I'm going to run out of room on this character select screen. I would love for the game to have like at least twice the number of characters that it has now for the release, but if I could do like 10 or 12, I think that would be fun. Just another way to keep the game fresh, you know? Just another way to keep the game fresh. Another power of the Lich could be to automatically resurrect a certain amount of health when you die, like if the enemy has to defeat your phylactery. Small cheat death of like 50% HP. New content streak instead of making items, you design a new character each day. Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know if I could do a character in a day. Because I have to do the art, then I have to do the animations. I guess that's it, really. Because besides the art and animations, oh, and then I have to add whatever artifacts are like designed specifically for that character. Like I designed these artifacts for Brittle Bones here. Anyway. Might even need to design a brand new item for that character to start with too. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Maybe day 1 is the art animations and day 2 is the artifacts. Still a lot though. Yeah. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I don't know. There's a lot to do still, but... Alright, anyway. I don't really have any time to start anything meaningful at the moment, so I will just end the stream there. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. It's very much appreciated. And you can wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. The link for that is in the description below. You can also join the Discord. Basically everything that is important to the game and to supporting me is linked below. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Always great to hang out with you all. I hope you enjoy your Friday. And I will be back at this tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, so I hope to see you there. And bye-bye for now.